Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Angela Blair, who's here to share with us her new novel, Sun-Kissed and Salted. What if one unexpected moment could change the course of your entire life? What a profound thing to think of. And today's guest is here to share with us just that. Angela Blair is a novelist, children's book author, artist, and mother. As the owner of Sea Pony Books, she strives to create literary works of wonder, beauty, compassion, and love that arises from an honest embrace of the tough subjects that unify our human experience. Raised in Los Angeles, she traveled the world and now resides in Baker City, Oregon, where she enjoys her work as a community art director and as a DJ at a local radio station. So welcome to the show, Angela Blair.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you very much.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. Sun-Kissed and Salted really takes readers on an extraordinary emotional journey. Without giving anything away, what first inspired you to write this story?
Well, to be quite honest, it is not a memoir per se, but it is very much based on my personal experience. I did, in fact, go on a quest traveling all over the world quite recklessly, found myself in lots of precarious situations, and ultimately, came to terms with some hard truths that I needed to learn to grow and discover the life that I have today.
Well, it's so interesting, the lessons that we learn, especially in travel. I mean, and I love how your book really kind of spans different seasons of life and again, these different parts of the world. So what drew you to tell such an expansive story instead of focusing on just like one chapter?
Yeah, I felt like, I wanted to tell the whole story. It goes over 50 years. It's quite an expansive story. There were so many little chapters and experiences that were so impactful and so traumatic. And, I felt like I had to just include some topics that aren't discussed very often, like domestic violence, substance abuse, abortion, homelessness, even rape. These things are in the book. So, there are could be some triggers for some people, but I think I approach these hard topics with a kind of grace that it's able to be absorbed in a way that's not really punching people in the face with it. It's very kind of gently portrayed through the character of Alika Jones, who is the protagonist of the story.
So is this story based off of your journey?
It is. It is. It's based off of me, but it's more than me. I felt like there are many women who do experience various kinds of trauma, and I really was hoping that my story could affect other people in a way that could give them a sense of like a rope to climb to reach to the top of a mountain that they just feel like is impossible to climb. But when you witness the progression of someone overcoming so many obstacles and then finding a kind of freedom that this particular character and myself found through a spiritual experience. It really created a sense of purpose and meaning in my life, and I would hope that people who feel isolated or alone or lost, where all this trauma is happening to them, and it's hard to see beyond it, that in fact someone could read a story that's very intimate, it's in first person, and gain the hope that they too can find that resilient streak, push through, and find a life that for me has become really the life of my dreams. I'm living the life I've always dreamed of, finally.
Well, I love that. And I found your book to be so impressive on how you explore these ideas to kind of dovetail what you said earlier of how we go through life's greatest struggles and how those can become our teachers.
Mm.
Why was these themes like so important for you?
Because sometimes I feel like, we talk about the hard stuff in private, with therapists, with not out in the open. Um, and I felt like, it's time for me to live out loud and get really honest and, not hold anything back and put it all out there. I really want this book to build a bridge between people who can relate to Alika's um, tendency to overindulge in alcohol, you know, drugs, things that, really are very self-destructive, um, live a very reckless life, not thinking things through, and finds herself homeless or with an unwanted pregnancy or just all kinds of things that do happen. And on the other side, there's this part of society that's very judgy and don't understand and don't have empathy. And to build a bridge between the people who can relate to her bad choices, that get her stuck in all kinds of, you know, pretty horrible situations, um, and then on the other hand, the people who are kind of walking the straight line and just don't get those people who are homeless and don't get it, And not everyone homeless is on the street. Some people are living in homeless shelters, they're in between things, they're staying in their car, they're camping, they're doing different things. Um, and and sometimes it's just, you know, uh, a very unexpected incident that will occur in someone's life that they find themselves all of a sudden with nowhere to live. Um, so I wanted to bridge some gaps in society between these very kind of opposed um, perspectives and generate more empathy, more understanding, more acceptance um, between people.
Well, I think that's so important. So, how often do we see someone who we would perceive as homeless, who is, needing help, asking for help, and we all judge these folks as far as, oh, they probably they're probably living on the streets because they have a drug addiction or alcohol addiction or mental health issue. When I have heard this is, I think, a statistic they talk about how a lot of people, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but
Mhm.
they're like one paycheck away from being homeless. Like one incident occurs, a car
Mhm.
accident,
Mhm.
downsizing of a job, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a situation where it's like, okay, gosh, what am I going to do? So to develop some empathy, I think is such an important piece.
Yeah, there's many people who are homeless aren't staying in a tent on the sidewalk. A lot of them are in shelters with children and trying to get off their feet. mothers with kids who just are abandoned and don't have any means to pay the rent, and they have these babies to take care of. I mean, this happens. This just happens to more people than you'd think. And they're not on the sidewalk asking for money. They're searching for services that could help them.
Yeah, so much to consider there. Well, and your book really touches deeply into stories of resilience. What do you hope readers discover about their own inner strength while reading this novel?
Yeah, one thing about Alika Jones is she doesn't give up. That's that's for certain. She is obviously a character with a manic depressive, bipolar a condition. I don't really like to call it a disorder because I think someone who can accept what their condition, that they can in fact find ways to use it as an asset, you know. It doesn't have to be all bad. There's a way to navigate one's life, and certain medications are very, very effective in in creating a space where someone can utilize the power of thoughts that are different, the creativity, the openness, the risky behavior can just be something where they have the ability to take a chance, and not a dangerous one, but something that could benefit their life. We have to push ourselves sometimes. And so Lika, having bipolar condition, she actually in the end is able to reach a level of spirituality, take a risk for the benefit of herself and her family. And there's always two sides to everything. And the scale swings, the pendulum, it goes one way or the other, but she really does push through, and her resilience is like the cornerstone of the whole book.
What made you decide to name this book Sunkiss and Salted? What does that mean to you?
Um, well, originally, the working title was The Manic Adventures of Alika Jones. And I didn't know what the title was really going to be until I was visiting a friend on the Big Island in Hawaii. And I love swimming in the ocean. I love swimming in general. But I step out after a long, stretching in those waves and swimming. And oh gosh, I step out onto the beach and it dawned on me. Sun kissed and salted. That's the name. That's the name. And, obviously, I was there drenched in salt water in the sun, but what it means and why it clicked so well for me was that it's a meeting between the spiritual uh, kind of intervention that happens in her life, this divine encounter that meets this very gritty, salted, meaning like preserved and earthy aspect of her life. And it's just this merging of the two. And that's what it means to me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I love how that title came together. I think of it, a lot of us can feel a little bit sun-kissed and salted, you know.
Yeah, it's just like, heaven and earth colliding in my mind.
Well, I love how your book really examines how our past shapes the choices we make. Do you believe we're defined more by our experiences or by the decisions we make?
I think we're more shaped by the experience of dealing with the consequences of the decisions we make. And the consequences, I think could be, favorable or not so favorable. Um, you know, I, Consequences seems like it has a negative tone to it, but we learn. we learn from our mistakes. We learn um, how as we can be stuck in a hamster wheel, making a decision to get involved with a toxic relationship over and over, different person, same toxic relationship. Um, that can happen, and it happens to a lot of people. But until we step off that wheel, and it might be spinning so fast, we spin right off of it and take a tumble and maybe get some scrapes. But you know what? We're the better for it. And we can dust ourselves off and straighten up, take the next right step. We can make better choices and not get back on those cycles from the past.
I think your book gives a lot of forgiveness for people who maybe have a lot of regret in life, and to
Mm.
use the experiences that we've had, good, bad, ugly.
Hmm.
We're faced with those as learning experiences that have shaped us to who we are today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was nervous releasing this book because does very if anyone knows me, in my life, they could very easily go, that book's about you, but many people who don't know me at all will not know how personal it is. But for me to release it to the world, it was a little nerve-wracking, but I had to just breathe through it and remember why I was being so vulnerable. I think the book came out, the best that it could become because I was willing to be honest, be vulnerable, and reach deeper and deeper. Because I think honesty with oneself is like a door opening to so much acceptance and forgiveness and freedom that we're able to, you know, grow wings and fly beyond, through our life the regrets that we had from the past. And people who are grappling with regrets and they're in the midst of it, regret I think usually is in retrospect, right? While you're in it, you don't see it for what it is at the time. You're just in the midst of it. But we can let go of regret, and we can use those experiences to create a better life for ourselves, and hopefully share those regretful experiences with others in an honest, vulnerable fashion so they don't feel so alone, because life can be messy. But if we're authentic and we're revealing the most intimate parts of ourselves, I think people can be deeply affected um, for the better, and hopefully gain some hopefully accept themselves, for who they are, and take the steps to make the choices that they have always wanted to make, but just didn't, or were too afraid, or didn't think they could, didn't have enough self-love or value. And so, I mean, that's what happened to me. I have the kind of uh, self-love, self-worth, and my life is so valuable because of that. And I don't choose to harm myself with relationships or substances or things that I had many, many decades ago.
Well, and to dovetail with that, I mean, relationships play such a huge part throughout the novel. So,
Mhm.
what interests you the most about exploring the complexity of love and trust and human connection?
Yes, it was very important to me to not, make the first half of the book all bad, the second half of the book all good. It's more, life is more complex than that. And though Alika does have an abusive husband, eloping very young, she has connections throughout her life, friendships that stick with her, true, um, true blue friendships that don't ever go away. She has a 50-year long relationship with her best friend. She has a very deep connection with the high school friend that lasts for decades and decades. She has parents that are, well, a mother, and then, she had some problems with her father. But her mother and new husband become just like salt to the earth in her life. And so I wanted to also show in the book that there are very healthy relationships and people who will stick by you. Um, no matter how bad things get, there are those people who will never lose hope, who will love you through it, through thick and thin. Um, we always have these vows when we have marriage, um, through thick and thin, through death to us, all these like, promises, right? But people like friends, people who are parents, people who are children, people who are absolutely woven into your life in a way that is constant all your live long days, they make those commitments as well all the time. It doesn't take a ring or a ceremony. It's just by birth, by choice, with friends, that these very deep committed, um, deeply committed relationships um, are formed, and they weave throughout the whole book, and you feel the love of friendship. It's very important to me, yeah, to honor that.
I'm sure many people reading Sunkissed and Salted will really reflect on their own lives. What conversations do you hope that your book sparks?
I hope it sparks the importance of recovery, acceptance, and um, empathy. I hope that it becomes really something in women's book clubs and things where they can have discussions with each other. I have a book club here in my town. And, when women get together, it's like, sometimes a dozen or 2 dozen of us in a room, and we're talking deeply about a book. I think there's a lot in Sunkissed and Salted that women can relate to in one way or another. Even if it didn't happen to them, they probably know someone who's been through domestic violence or has suffered through how to make a decision to have an abortion or not, and spiritual encounters, and then things change, and maybe the spirituality you grew up with isn't the one you have today. It evolves and changes, and there's just a lot to discuss in the book. And I think women in general can really take away a lot of discussion points. And I just like the fact that the end of the book is bright and sun-kissed. The beginning, it should be salted and sun-kissed as far as the chronology of the book. But I thought it sounded better the other way.
Well, in your book also explores these themes of hope and healing and forgiveness, and of
Mhm.
course, second chances.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
of these themes do you think is the heartbeat of this story?
You know, um, Second chances, maybe in Alika's experience, it's more like the ninth chance. It's like the 9 lives of Alika Jones. That could be another title, but yeah, second chances, whether it's the third or fourth or fifth or sixth, that is really important. I think the power of resilience and the ability to take another chance at life. You just cannot give up. The quote in the beginning of the book is by George Eliot that says, "It's never too late to become what you might have been." And I loved that quote. I had to put it in there um, because I always had this longing. There's a life I wanted to live. There were these dreams I wanted to realize there was um, so many creative endeavors I wanted to do, but I was so restrained. Like I wasn't free enough to just trust and believe in myself and just take a chance and do it. And I think a lot of us hold ourselves back. And so, if the whole first chapter of my life, before writing this book, honestly, this book was an absolute paradigm shift in my life because now I have my own publishing company. Now I'm releasing a children's book this month. Um, I'm on a mission. My children's division is a huge mission. Um, yeah, children deserve human authored and handcrafted original artwork, I believe. So I'm putting a lot of passion into that too. But everything opened up after I finally said, you know what? I'm going to stop just waiting around for something to happen for me to finally make the choice to write. I've always wanted to write for decades and decades. So now I'm going to do it. Changed everything for me writing Sunkissed and Salted. Changed absolutely everything. And now I feel like my life has opened up and the possibilities and the abundance is just overflowing.
Can you share with us a little bit about your upcoming children's book?
Sure. It's called A Dance of Birds, Poetry and Paper Collage. And I work as the art director at a nonprofit gallery art center. And I know all the artists in my town. There's like 10,000 people in my town and big, vibrant art community. And it got me thinking, gosh, I have these little poems and things I've written, songs, throughout my life, and they're just little tidbits of things. And I thought, "Oh, it could be a children's book. I should ask if someone wants to work with me on creating handcrafted original artwork for kids." Because here at these First Friday art walks that I put on a new show every month and invite all these people, and there's always adults. There's never any kids there. And our kids not looking at original artwork. Maybe they go to the museums rarely with their parents, or but not that often. And there's too much computer generated graphics and robotic content. Uh, and kids deserve more. Kids deserve, they deserve real art. And I, I know authentic intelligence has been used many times, but they deserve an authentic, meaningful books that they can feel, that they can love, that makes them think, and is coming from someone who has a passion to want to provide creative material to help kids, have that instinct, that spark to want to create and imagine and put a smile on their face. I want to give them books that make them feel good and smile. That this first book is for littles. It's like one of the first kind of books a kid would have. It's very bright, very colorful, very cheerful, little educational, but fun and light. I have some other ideas of things that are a little deeper, but they'll be on the horizon.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
Angela, where can our listeners go to connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about Sunkissed and Salted?
Well, angieblair.com is my website. It has information about A Dance of Birds and Sunkissed. Is also available on audiobook. I worked with a wonderful up and coming narrator named Abby Filsinger, also based in Los Angeles, and she's just taken off. She's just doing great, but I kind of got her early. And yeah, she did a great job doing the audiobook. That's available as well as ebook for Sunkissed. July 20th is the release date for A Dance of Birds. Having a big launch party. I'm probably going to have 100 or more people there, and it's going to be really fun. A lot of entrepreneurs are bringing their businesses, their bakeries, their coffees, all these things, and bubble machines, and live music, and kids running around. And we're going to have original artwork for sale. That's in the book, and sell the book, sign, give a presentation, and the community is happy about it. It's nice that I'm in this town, that there's a buzz and people are like, "Oh, let's go to the book signing." People are making things and it's happy. It's a good feeling. People are very supportive in this town. I love it.
Well, Angie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Angela. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new novel, Sun-Kissed and Salted. Make sure to visit Angela's website at angieblair.com for more information on her work and to be part of her community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.